Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Blahzay Bling, Blahzay Bling, Bling, Bling. What's good, son, doobie? Another day, another dollar, another way to make him holler. You know exactly how we do. All 5 to 10 of us. All 5 to 10 viewers, you know how we do, baby. I hope you're working on your plan. The plan to get us the most flavor, most flyest, most beautifulest, most stressless, no stress, most peaceful and most happiest life for you. I hope you're working on that no matter what it is. No matter what it is. Remember, you got to eliminate all the stupid shit to obtain the new shit because you need room, and then it's to maintain. It's always one of the most hardest, most difficult things. Quick tangent. I'm gonna go left real fast. All right, let me do my. Today is a great day for a great day, so we're gonna have a great day because we are wonderful people in this wonderful world, doing wonderful things while living wonderful lives. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? Back in the day, like yesterday, I was a couple days ago, I was Blahzay Blinging. It was yesterday. I was Blahzay Blinging about being grateful, but I want to talk about how you have to eliminate to obtain to maintain. When you obtain something, one of the hardest things is to maintain it. Back in the day, I had my homeboy. His name was Tommy. This was my guy. I love this dude. We ended up losing touch. He came out to Cali. He's the main reason I came out to Cali, to San Diego, but he lives in Compton. I came out here and I want to give a quick story, just a quick story of Tommy. Tommy ended up back in the day in 2000, 2001 during Y2K. Because I said Y2K yesterday and I just thought all these memories started flooding. I had a record shop. Me and my boys had a record shop. It was called Hit This Records. This was in Atlanta on Ponce de Leon Avenue. I was staying at the Ford Factory Lofts. Them shits are still there to this day. But I was staying at the Ford Factory Lofts with my ex-girl. Her name was Vanessa. She was a Korean and black girl. She was a model. And at the time we broke up, that was the time that things were going left for me. My homeboy Tommy was a hardcore hustler. And he had some Cali connects. He was getting trees. The dude was official. My guy ended up getting a penthouse at this spot called the Oakwood. The Oakwood was one of the only high-rises at the time, bro. This was in 2001. And he was on the 34th floor out of the 35 floors they were there. He was one floor. The top 3 were penthouses. He was in the middle. And I remember Tommy getting the penthouse. Tommy was a hardcore hustler, bro. Back then, so in 2001, the penthouse was like $2,500. That's like the penthouse right now being $6,000, $7,000. I remember Tommy telling us he was gonna get the penthouse, and we were like, "Get the fuck out of here! You ain't getting no goddamn penthouse, Tommy." And he was just like, "You'll see." He ended up getting it. He ended up getting the penthouse. He obtained it. The problem for my homeboy was to maintain. I learned a valuable lesson from my friend Tommy. I've learned tons of lessons from my homeboy Tommy. To make a real long story short, Tommy was working at a call center, and Tommy, back then, he always had the fly trees. He always had top shelf. Somebody ended up hating on him at the call center. He got fired, got let go. So, things went left for my guy. Tommy was one of the first people ever in my life that I seen go from the top to the bottom as fast as it happened. Tommy ended up, basically, he tried to get other jobs, it didn't work. So this is how messed up it is. Like right before the lease was up, it was a 1-year lease. It was like at the 8th month. He couldn't pay the rent. Him and his wife, they went through it. They couldn't pay the rent. His wife was mad cool. She worked, but they just, $2,500. And it was the bills. It was $35,000, $4,000. It was $1,000 a week. He ended up losing a penthouse. Now Tommy ended up telling me that the day that it happened, he didn't believe it was going to happen. What ended up going down was he ended up getting the letter on the door. He ignored it. In Atlanta, it's about a 2-month process to get evicted. They put the letter on your door, and then you get a court date in 2 weeks. And in that court date, they give you 2 weeks to resolve it. And at the end of the 2 weeks, you go to a mediation meeting, right? And at the end of that mediation meeting, they're going to ask you, are you going to be able to pay? Are you going to do payments? What do you want to do? He couldn't do nothing. So they gave him 30 days. At the end of the 30 days, bro, he really thought that nothing was going to happen, bro. Sheriffs came, grabbed this shit and put it outside. And when they grabbed this shit and put it outside, it was real live. His shit is outside. Oh, what the hell? That was a fucking rock. Damn, bro. I hit a rock that sounded like that. Damn, okay. They put his shit outside the Oakwood. So his wife had to stay with the stuff, and he went and got a U-Haul, and they put the shit in storage. And this was the beginning of 2002. After he put his shit in storage, he moved out here to Cali because he had nowhere to go. So his wife was from Cali, so they came out here. He told me flat out, bro, like, obtaining it was the easiest shit. He got that shit. It was the maintaining. It was the maintaining that was the hardest. I've always learned that from Tommy. It's because of Tommy, I never got in over my head with any bills, and I never got in over my head with anything. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, I moved out here in 2010 to be close to my guy. That's my dude, bro. That was my best friend. I still stayed in Atlanta, and I moved around to Texas. I moved around a whole bunch of times. So in 2002, he came out here, and in 2010, I came out here. Unfortunately, man, in about 2014, 2015, we parted ways. I ended up becoming a little bit more successful, and the money got to me. And, you know, I was kind of an asshole. When you're broke and you become a millionaire, you know, you think nobody can tell you nothing. You know what I mean? I was on some Kanye shit, yo. Wait till I get my money right. You know what I mean? He ain't telling me nothing. Well, it's been 10 years since I talked to Tommy. I hope he's doing good. You know what I mean? I know he's still with his wife. I try to reach out every now and again, but last I checked, he blocked me 10 years ago. That's that. And that's what I'm going to go into. When somebody is part of your life, bro, please understand. This is for my 10 viewers. This is for us. Check this out. I got my homeboy Jamul. I got a couple other dudes checking me now. I appreciate y'all. Like, you have no idea how much I'm appreciating y'all. So, like, we gonna have our little small, for us, we're gonna have our little small men's group. You know what I mean? This is for us to talk some shit, for us to give some advice to each other. You know what I mean? This is for us now. I'm noticing amongst my friends, even the adults, some adult friends of mine, please understand, because this is vitally important for me, because it took me years to realize this. It took me years. Remember, family, I'm 48. So it took me years to realize this. Family, no response is a response. You feel me? No response, not getting a response is a response. Back in the day, I used to lose my over that. My mother told me that. My mother taught me that, because back in the day when I used to talk to girls and I used to beep them, yeah, we had the beepers and shit, fam. And after the beepers, we had, this is like before cell phones and shit. I call girls and I call them and they wouldn't call me back, and I just keep calling them and keep calling them and keep calling them. One time there was this one girl. It's basically the girl I lost my virginity to when I was 14. Her name was Christina. I kept calling her because, you know, when you're 14 and you get some toto, it's some of the best. You know what I mean? 14 with some toto, like, oh my God, you think you're the man. Lo, I used to go home immediately and call her. The house phone. We have the kitchen house phone. I call her. Hey, yo, what's up? Can I please speak to Christina? And her mom be like, no, hang up. Can you tell her I called, please? Can you please tell Christina I called, please? And I do that. Shit, I was that dude. I was the dude that'd call the girl 30 and 40 times. 30 and 40 times. And get mad when they didn't respond. So my mother sat me down. I remember this. I was 15, and she's just like, I need to tell you something, because you're like, you know what I mean? I don't want to have, this is what she said, I don't want to have a son known as the restraining order guy. Back then it was protective orders. I don't want to have a son known as a protective order guy. No response is a response. And I flipped the fuck out. How is that possible? There's no response. How are you telling me that's a response? That's not a response. It's not. How is that possible? If I say, hey, and you don't respond, how is that a response? Bro, it took me as being an adult to understand what she meant. No response is a response. I realize I have adult friends that don't understand that. I have adult friends that their entitlement, their selfishness, their characteristics, where you put up a barrier, you put up your boundaries, and you don't respond, and they feel entitled to the response, and they don't understand that no response is a response. Now that I'm adult, I do want to text my homeboy Tommy. I do want to call him because I ain't talked to him in 10 fucking years. And we had a 20-year friendship before that. You know what I mean? But no response is a response. You feel me? No response is the response. So I have to respect that. And that's why I'm talking to all of my 10 viewers, 20 subscribers, and my 5 to 10 viewers that I love you guys, man. I just want to say that, like, the past few days when I make my videos and stuff, and I post it and then I go and check it again, and I see my little 5 and 6 views, 5 people just said, what's up? Now, back in the day, I'm going to just put it out there. I'm 48 now. When I was 15, turning 16, I joined the Latin Kings. Almighty Latin King Nation, right? Back then in New York, if you're Puerto Rican, you're going to be a Latin King or a Nieta. There's one of only 2 gangs. Because we didn't have Bloods and Crips. We had something called the Decepticons. The Deceps were just all the black dudes. We had some GDs and all that, but it wasn't as prevalent. We had other gangs. Like, I'll give you an example because I'm from New York, and back then, you had your little gangs. That's why the movie The Warriors came out. There was no Bloods and Crips when I was there, bro. None. There was none of that. We had the Lunatics. We had Looney Tunes. Looney Tunes was the kids under 12, bro. And these little sons of bitches running around with box cutters and shit. $1.50 in people. Just slice your ass. Oh my God, I hated them little sons of bitches. When I was 15 and I got jumped into the being a king, about 18, I got my own little chapter. When you get your chapter, that's when you get your tattooed on your hand. See, I still got my shit. I never got it removed. Because this right here, people have asked me before, why do you have that? And you know what I always tell them, and this is the truth. This is the actions. This is the reminiscence. This is to remember a misguided youth. This is to remember all the mistakes that I made. You know what I mean? This is to try to put it out there that, for myself, think before you act. What happened with me when I got my own little, they call them tribes. When you get your own little tribe and shit, yo, you have your, I gotta word this correctly. When I got my little tribe and shit, I was in New York. They wanted to start a new chapter in Jersey. I ended up going out to New Jersey and starting this chapter. One of the main things that we did when I was 18, 19 was, back then the hustle was, this was the hustle. You will go to a temp agency, right? A temporary agency, get a job. And the whole back then was to try to get into the clothing factories. We had different clothing factories in Secaucus, New Jersey and shit that always used temp workers. So the hustle was to get into the DKNY factory, to get into the Polo factory, to get into the Nautica factory, because these are the outlets, but in the back, this is where the factories were. You take your cart, they give you an order, and it'll tell you like X1222, grab 3. So you go down the aisle and go to the box, X1222, and grab 2 shirts, throw it in there. The whole hustle was to steal clothes. To make a long story short, I was in charge of like 15 heads. And my thing was, we were Latin kings. So what I wanted to do was to be, since we Latino and we're kings, let's try to act like it. The dude underneath me, Because you have presidents, warlords. I'm not going to keep going into it, but you have different, you know what I mean? Duke didn't want to follow instructions. He didn't want to listen to me. He wanted to be wild for the night. He wanted to be Wile E. Coyote. My thing was this. I didn't like people selling crack. I didn't want nobody selling coke. I wanted everybody to get an education. I wanted you to have a high school diploma. So I used to tell motherfuckers, you can't be a Latin king without a high school diploma. See how stupid that sounds? Long story short, they jumped me. They beat the shit out of me one day. They just jumped me. I ended up going over there. We smoking. And dude is like, yo, let's walk down the block. Yo, I got to meet somebody. And we walking down the block. And I just, BAM! I just got jumped. Right? They ended up telling me, you done. We ain't trying to have your corny ass here. You too corny, you too corny, you too corny. Fuck y'all. Fuck y'all. I did what I did to dude and kept it the fuck moving. That was that. That's when I realized I didn't want to do that no more because my own people jumped me and tried to murk me. Yeah, man. I almost got murked twice by my own people. I said all that to say, right? Memories of a misguided youth. You know? The memories still right here. Do I run around here doing that to this day? Absolutely not. My whole thing is this. No response is a response. When you see that and you act accordingly, you'll be able to see a whole bunch of things more clearer. For all my people out there, if you're trying to holler at somebody, you're trying to talk to a girl and she's not responding, please respect yourself. Keep it the fuck moving. That goes with dudes too. If you got a friend and you text him and he doesn't respond, besitos. The reason I'm saying that is because back then, those dudes tried to stay away from me. And I kept calling, yo, where you guys at? Where you guys at? Where you guys? And they weren't fucking with me. You know what I mean? And then to the point where they jumped me. So it's like, if I never kept being a pain in the ass to try to fuck with them, to try to act like the boss, I would have never gotten jumped. I would have never got stabbed. That would have never happened. But because I was desperate for attention, I was needy. I was very needy. Here's another thing, a left tangent. If you're having a problem with that, there's a book called Models by Mark Manson. That shit changed my life. It's all about guys being needy, and it's the worst trait for us to have. Please read it. Buy it and read it. It will change your life. It will change your life. Damn, you got all these memories flooded now. My whole thing is this. I want to say it. No response is a response. Respect yourself and never put yourself in a position of danger because you want some attention and you want to be needy. I've done it twice, almost cost me my life twice. To this day, I'd rather be solo dolo. I want to be by myself. I don't want to be around crowds. I don't want to be around people anymore. You know what I mean? I apologize for just going on this crazy ass. Like, I done told you some shit right now. I don't even think I should have told you, but the only way for us to be cool with each other is to just, I'm going to let you know. You know what I mean? There's no reason to bullshit and no reason to lie. There's a saying by Nietzsche, and it's always fucked with me, and it still does to this day. And the saying goes, I felt ashamed when I found out life is a costume party and I showed up in my real face. I'm showing you my real face. I'm not wearing no costume. You catch me out on the street, it's going to be this. You know what I mean? I don't need to front. I don't need to have two different personalities because I'm already multiple personalities. Tangent, we're done talking about, no response is a response. I want to show y'all something real fast. I ended up getting some shit yesterday. Check this shit out, yo. I got some new top shelf trees and shit, yo. Bro, I gotta show you this shit. Bro. This shit is insanely stupid. Bubba Gump OG. It just came out. I'm one of the first in San Diego. Even look it up. You ain't even gonna find this strain, Bubba Gump OG. I'm one of the first people with it. I'm so happy, bro. You know what I mean? Jamul, I got you some Bubba Gump OG. Lazy guy, I got you some Bubba Gump OG. Just holla at me and shit, yo. All right, let's go to work now. I already done talked your fucking ear off and shit, yo. I didn't even mean to, but another 20-minute video. Another one. All lovely past the bubbly. I like doing 20-minute videos, bro. I do like that shit. I really do. Yo, we in the warehouse today. I meant to go to TG, but people here, that's one of my homeboys. He found out, yo, I heard you got the bubble gum. I'm like, there you go. There's my beautiful Saturn. I absolutely love that shit, bro. So yeah, bro, my homeboy wants to try the Bubba Gump OG. Yo, son, I got it yesterday. The dude who gave it to me was like, bro, people, and leave it like this. People wanted to pay him $500 above what I'm paying for it and shit, yo. And I'm like, bro, that's mine. I already placed the order for that shit last week. When I heard about, how silly does that even sound? Bubba Gump OG. What it is, by the way, it's gumbo OG with Bubba Kush. That's what it is. Those are the two strains. So they call it Bubba Gump OG. So you already know what time it is, man. We walking up in here because I'm the baddest motherfucker everywhere we go. You already know how we do. Shout out to Jamul. Shout out to the lazy dude. Shout out to all 5 of y'all, man, who's watching my videos, 5 to 10 of y'all. I really appreciate y'all. Y'all have no idea. You really don't understand how y'all make me feel. And until next time, I'll catch you on the flip, dippity doo dip. Deucitos.